And welcome to today's Swampcast. This is Pat Dooley, the Gainesville Sun, along with Robbie Andreu. That's him over there. And we are ready to preview the Florida-Atlantic game. You know, Robbie, I'm dead honest when I say this. I've been asked about Florida-Atlantic all week. Is there any chance Florida has of losing to them? And I've always said, yeah, there's a chance of Appalachian State, Michigan, all this other stuff. Today, I kind of looked at some of their stats. There is no chance of it happening.
No.
They are not very good. And when you look at some of their scores, Kentucky killed them. They just aren't very good.
The good teams have wiped them out. I mean, they're capable of competing with Florida because they have a quarterback that can throw the ball and receivers that catch, so they can pitch it around against Florida, which, the secondary is Florida's weakness. So in that regard, maybe they can put some drives together, make it competitive. But athletically, they just don't match up too well.
Yeah, Howard Schnellenberger's got a hold of this Swampcast now, and he's showing it to his team. He said we had no chance.
But they're better than last year's 12th game opponent, which was Division I AA Western Carolina, 62-0.
This team did give up 317 rushing yards to Louisiana Lafayette. I got to think Tim Tebow and company are going to be able to get some rushing yards against them. And I think their right guard weighs 238. So they've done a wonderful job down there in building this program up. Schnellenberger knows how to build programs. He's done a tremendous job.
Yeah, and he knows the passing game, so it doesn't surprise me they're throwing for 278 a game.
They just don't have the horses to stay with Florida, I wouldn't think. But it kind of cracks me up, the questions you get about how long will Tebow play. Well, we're planning on playing him for a half.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, the game could be reasonably close at halftime. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, some of the media don't seem to get that the score dictates when you put your number 2 quarterback in. It's not what, put him in at the end of the first quarter, 8 minutes to go in the half. If it's 21-7.
It's a feel thing.
Yeah, 21-7 late in the second quarter, you're not going to see Cameron Newton in the game.
Yeah. Well, media is kind of a strange term lately.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the lines are all blurred now, Pat.
That's a whole nother Swampcast. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do a roundtable discussion about the media.
Well, go to a football practice. Who are all these people surrounding Meyer afterwards?
I don't know.
Are they online, offline,
They're
TV, radio?
Offline.
What are they?
Some of them are offline, unfortunately. But at any rate, it should be a nice day for Florida. The weird thing is, Robbie, is we're going to be covering that game, and we aren't going to know for a while what the story is of that game.
Kentucky, Georgia, mainly.
Kentucky, Georgia. If Kentucky beats Georgia, then you got to wait for Vandy, Tennessee. If Georgia beats Kentucky, they're eliminated. And just to clarify, if Tennessee and Georgia both lose, Florida's in. All that talk about 2 weeks ago about Tennessee couldn't lose twice. Well, that all changed now with what's happened. If Florida and Tennessee, or Georgia and Tennessee both lose, Florida's in, because if Kentucky beats Tennessee or Tennessee beats Kentucky, there's still a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
Florida wins the tie.
Well, that's the whole key 3-way tie, and Florida goes because they've beaten everybody in that division except Georgia.
In the end, Robbie, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see Kentucky beating Georgia. But, hey, look, Florida's at least in position where they've got a chance with 2 weeks left in the season. I think, I wrote before the season, 9-3 was the over-under, and they've got a chance to be there.
If they do that, it's been a good year, and a lot of young guys. And that offense next year is going to be unbelievable. But, like Coach Meyer says, the first goal is to be competing for a championship in November, and they've done that. So that's their first goal has been met. And I think by 4 o'clock on Saturday, Florida's going to be
eliminated.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Georgia's going to take care of Kentucky and, go from there.
No Sean Marino.
No.
Too tough.
Yeah.
Well, let's take we've talked about Florida Atlantic. Look, they can throw the ball a little bit. You probably get a little disgruntled because they're moving the ball a little bit on Florida. But Florida, they are not going to be able to stop Florida. There's no question.
No,
South Carolina couldn't. This team's not going to be able to. This is not Vanderbilt, even at that level of talent. But it'll be interesting to see Schnellenberger again, because the last time I was not at the 82 game, the catch by James.
I was at that one.
I wasn't at the 83 game where Florida spanked them.
Yeah, and Miami was starting a new quarterback, Bernie Kosar, and they struggled. They looked terrible. And lo and behold, they went on and won the national title.
And I was not at the 92 game because I was still Sports Center then. I was in here when Florida beat Louisville. So the last time I saw Howard Schnellenberger in the slump, people were throwing oranges at him, and he kicked that last field goal.
Yeah,
so that's what I remember.
That was the in-your-face field goal.
Yeah, it was. For those of you who don't know, he called timeout. The clock was going to run out. He called timeout with just a few seconds left to kick a field goal and make it 31-7 because fans were throwing oranges, and one of them hit his son, one of them hit one of the cheerleaders.
Yeah, that was a bad day in the Florida field because the fans were so rude.
Yeah.
I think they were thinking they were going to win the game, and it got out of hand. And
they should have. They were ranked higher. Yeah. They were 7-2, but they didn't get it done. But anyway, it's all old news, I know. There will be some people that remember that when Schnellenberger runs out in the field Saturday. But the bottom line is Florida should handle Florida Atlantic. Let's talk quickly, Robbie, on this Swampcast about the Heisman. We haven't brought it up too much because it's a long season, but this certainly is a game where Tebow can't really help himself. No matter what he does, they're going to say, well, it's Florida Atlantic.
The chances are he's going to put up these huge numbers, but you look at it, it's not going to be the same as doing against even a struggling South Carolina. Right. So, the goal here is for him to have a good half and maybe get out of there and stay healthy for the FSU game. But I think the funny part of this is last week, Florida, he throws a touchdown pass when they're trying to win the game. People were saying Florida was trying to pad his Heisman numbers, which couldn't be further from the truth. They're trying to win the game.
4 minutes to go, you're up 2 scores, the game's not over.
No.
If you saw Boston College, Virginia Tech, you understand that.
And if you've seen Florida's defense this year, a lot of things can happen in a hurry.
That defense has gotten a little bit better. They've made some plays in the last couple of weeks, so I think it's a sign of how next year's defense is going to be a little bit better than it was this year, and the offense should be a lot better as well. Tebow and the Heisman, my gut right now tells me he's not going to win because of the sophomore thing, even though it's ridiculous. And it shows you that there are a lot of people that shouldn't be voting for the Heisman Trophy, but there's over 900 of them.
They probably need to scale that down a little bit and do a little research on who's voting.
As long as they include me, I'm okay with it.
Because you're an old codger if you're going by the no sophomore.
And look, we're old codgers and we're not doing that.
But if you're a freshman, let's say a freshman comes in and he rushes for 4,000 yards for Notre Dame or something, you're saying he's not the best player in the country?
Well, maybe they'll prove me wrong and get over it this year. I certainly can make arguments for some other guys. I think sometimes I sit there and look at my ballot, Robbie, and I go, well, the guy in Oregon is going to vote for Dennis Dixon, so I need to vote for Tebow to counteract that. But I don't do that. I look at it and I go, who do I think are the best 3 guys for the Heisman Trophy? And it's my definition, just like your ballot is your definition.
But like 2001, Grossman got screwed.
No doubt.
He was definitely better than Crouch. His numbers were better. Crouch had a big game against Oklahoma, and all of a sudden that won him the Heisman. His numbers were nothing, really, compared to what Rex had done.
Well, look at what he did. He ran for, 18 touchdowns and threw for 7 and had 10 interceptions. Rex Grossman had an unbelievable year, 35 touchdown passes. Florida had the best offense it's ever had, statistically. But that's the way it works sometimes. And unfortunately for Tebow, it may work against him. Sophomore, 3 losses. Best player in the country? Well, you have to wait and see my ballot to find out whether I think he is, and we will publish both of our ballots.
And I think a lot of people do think he's the best player in the country. Whether they vote for him, I don't know.
There is a huge Tebow movement nationally, and the people love the guy. He's been great in interviews. I think Florida's been smart in making him pretty accessible because he can handle it pretty well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We got some ball to play, and certainly, of course, Florida Atlantic this week, Florida State next week. And then maybe an SEC championship game. We'll see. I know
we're not predicting that, but
no, I'll be there because I'm going either way. You're going to the Heisman no matter what.
Yeah, because Tebow's going to be there in New York, I would imagine, and I think if it ended now, I think he'd be a close number 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happens the next few weeks could push him over the top, or who knows?
It'll be interesting. It's going to be, it's been a crazy year, so anything could happen. It could end up Cornelius Ingram could win the Heisman.
Maybe next year.
Okay, maybe next year, yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this Swampcast. Pat Dooley of the Gainesville Sun, Robbie Andreu of the Gainesville Sun. We look forward to the next one after the FAU game. We'll be live at Florida Field. Make sure you tune in. See ya.